There is a common misconception that China operates the Panama Canal. Former US President Donald Trump repeatedly and falsely claimed this. However, the Panama Canal Authority, a Panamanian government agency, operates the canal. China is the second largest user of the Panama Canal by cargo volume, accounting for 21.4% from October 2023 to September 2024. The US remains the largest user. A subsidiary of CK Hutchison Holdings, a Hong Kong-based conglomerate, operates 2 of the 5 ports adjacent to the canal, Balboa and Cristobal. While these ports are not state-owned, this has raised concerns in Washington about potential Chinese influence. Chinese companies have invested heavily in infrastructure projects near the canal, including ports, a cruise terminal, and a planned bridge. Despite this significant investment, it does not equate to ownership or control of the canal itself. Panama established formal diplomatic relations with China in 2017, breaking ties with Taiwan. Panama also joined China's Belt and Road Initiative, with several other Latin American countries following suit. China has expanded its soft power influence in Panama through initiatives like opening a Confucius Institute, providing grants for a railway project, and sponsoring media training for Panamanian journalists. The US played a key role in the canal's construction, completing it in 1914. The US controlled the canal until 1977, when a treaty initiated the handover to Panama, completed in 1999. Treaties stipulate the canal's permanent neutrality, with the US reserving the right to defend it militarily against threats.
The Sackler family and Purdue Pharma, maker of OxyContin, have agreed to a settlement of up to $7.4 billion in 2025. This is over $1 billion more than a previous deal rejected by the Supreme Court. $6.5 billion will be paid by the Sacklers. $900 million will be paid by Purdue. The funds will support opioid addiction treatment and prevention. The settlement still needs court approval. It's considered one of the largest settlements in opioid lawsuits. A previous deal offered the Sacklers immunity for $6 billion but was rejected. OxyContin, often a gateway to harder drugs, is blamed for fueling the US opioid crisis and generated billions for the Sacklers. Since 1999, opioid overdose deaths have surged. The Sacklers allegedly knew of legal risks and withdrew about $11 billion from Purdue before its bankruptcy, storing much of it overseas. Credits narration by narrator's name, script based on BBC article. In January 2025, former President Trump addressed the World Economic Forum at Davos. He called on Saudi Arabia and OPEC to lower oil prices to help end the Russia-Ukraine war, arguing that high oil prices were sustaining funding for the conflict. Prior to his Davos speech, Trump spoke with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. While Saudi state media reported a $600 billion Saudi investment pledge to the U.S. over 4 years, the White House statement omitted this figure. Trump publicly urged the Crown Prince to increase this to $1 trillion. Following Trump's comments, crude oil prices fell by 1%. David Oxley, chief climate and commodities economist at Capital Economics, linked Trump's comments to his desire for lower gasoline prices and his intention to use energy as leverage over Russia. Oxley also noted that lower oil prices would not incentivize U.S. oil production, especially in high-cost areas like Alaska, and that Saudi Arabia might not comply with Trump's request. Trump reiterated his America First policy, urging companies to manufacture in the U.S. or face tariffs on imports. He criticized the Biden administration for what he described as economic chaos caused by $8 trillion in deficit spending, energy restrictions, and regulations. Trump also advocated for clean coal to power data centers needed for AI, claiming the U.S. needs to double its energy output for AI development. He stated his intent to use emergency decrees to expedite power plant construction. Note that the provided BBC article refers to events occurring in January 2025, but is dated 2023. It's crucial to verify these events and their dates with other credible sources. The Trump administration has revoked the 1965 Equal Employment Opportunity Rule. This rule prohibited discrimination by federal contractors based on race, gender, and other characteristics. The revocation impacts hiring, promotions, and pay for 3.7 million employees. While discrimination remains illegal, revoking the rule weakens worker protections. The Department of Labor's ability to pursue discrimination cases is also weakened, especially for federal contractors. Experts believe this action could extend to private employers. The executive order directs attorneys general to create plans to address private companies' DEI programs. This could potentially involve public exposure or enforcement actions. The Trump administration aims to restore a merit-based system. They claim DEI programs promote illegal, pernicious discrimination based on birth characteristics rather than capabilities. The administration argues DEI has led to reverse discrimination and violates free speech rights. All federal employees in DEI roles were placed on leave by January 22, 2025. DEI web pages and social media were removed, training canceled, and contracts terminated. The executive order compels federal agencies to identify potential civil compliance investigations into private companies with DEI programs deemed discriminatory. This is seen as an intimidation tactic. The Trump administration distinguishes between general diversity, equity, and inclusion concepts, and what it considers the critical social justice version of DEI, which it deems divisive. Even before Trump's orders, companies like Meta were scaling back DEI programs. This was influenced by the 2023 Supreme Court decision banning affirmative action in college admissions and pressure from conservative activists. Source: CBS News article, "What is DEI and why is it facing pushback?" 5 new fires erupted in Southern California on Thursday, January 23, 2025. The largest, Border 2 in San Diego, spans over 4,250 acres and is only 10% contained. The Hughes Fire in Los Angeles has forced tens of thousands to evacuate, burning 10,000 acres and is 36% contained as of Thursday. Recent fires, including the Palisades and Eaton fires, have burned over 37,000 acres and killed at least 28 people in recent weeks. Los Angeles faces elevated fire risk due to brisk winds. Rain and mountain snow are expected over the weekend, which may aid firefighting efforts but also pose risks of floods and mudslides. President Trump is set to visit Los Angeles on Friday to assess wildfire damage. He has criticized the Biden administration's disaster relief efforts and threatened to withhold federal aid to California over water management and voter ID disagreements. California Governor Gavin Newsom announced a $2.5 billion state aid package for fire recovery, criticizing the idea of conditioning aid for citizens. Brian Rice, president of California Professional Firefighters, hopes Trump won't deny federal aid, emphasizing the need for support in devastated communities. On January 14, 2025, Teresa Youngblood and Felix Bockholt raised suspicions at a Lyndonville, Vermont hotel. They were wearing tactical gear, and Youngblood openly carried a firearm. On January 19th, the pair were spotted in downtown Newport, Vermont, again in tactical gear and carrying a handgun, which is legal in Vermont. On January 20th, the day of the shooting, Youngblood and Bockholt were seen at a Walmart in Newport, Vermont. Bockholt wrapped cell phones in aluminum foil. Between 3 p.m. and 3:15 p.m., Border Patrol agents initiated a traffic stop on the pair's vehicle under the pretext of an immigration violation. Gunfire erupted. Youngblood allegedly shot at agents first. Bockholt attempted to draw his firearm. At least one agent fired back, killing Bockholt and fatally wounding Agent David Maland. On January 24th, Teresa Youngblood was arrested and charged with assault on a federal law enforcement officer. Agent David Maland was a U.S. Border Patrol agent and a U.S. Air Force veteran. Teresa Youngblood, 21 years old from Washington State, was arrested and charged with assault on a federal law enforcement officer. Felix Bockholt, a German national, was killed during the shootout with Border Patrol agents. Agents found weapons, tactical gear, and foil-wrapped cell phones in the suspect's vehicle. The involved Border Patrol agents have not yet been interviewed. For more details, refer to the full ABC News article. President Trump visited Pacific Palisades, California on January 24, 2025. He pledged to expedite the bureaucratic processes to speed up the rebuilding of areas damaged by recent wildfires in Los Angeles. Trump stated that waiting up to 18 months for permits was unacceptable. During his visit, Trump briefly met with California Governor Gavin Newsom. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass thanked Trump for his visit but contradicted his claim about the 18-month wait for rebuilding permits. Bass stated the city was streamlining processes, and residents would only need to wait for the area to be cleared. Trump insisted that affected residents had personally told him about the 18-month wait. Prior to arriving in California, Trump expressed his intent to potentially get rid of FEMA during a visit to North Carolina to assess damage from Hurricane Helene. He criticized FEMA as being too bureaucratic, slow, and a big disappointment. During his California visit, Trump reiterated his criticism, stating that FEMA doesn't show up during these disasters. FEMA, or the Federal Emergency Management Agency, operates under the Department of Homeland Security. It coordinates the federal government's response to natural disasters, national emergencies, and crises surpassing state and local capabilities. FEMA provides financial aid and assistance for recovery, including grants for rebuilding and temporary housing. The agency also offers educational programs, drills, and resources to promote citizen and community preparedness. FEMA works on risk reduction by encouraging urban planning policies, resilient construction, and projects to lessen the impact of future disasters. Note: the article doesn't provide specific details about the wildfires or Trump's proposed alternative to FEMA. You might want to research these topics further. Rapper DJ Unk, whose real name was Anthony Platt, has passed away at the age of 43. The announcement was made on Friday, January 24, 2025. The cause of his death has not been publicly revealed. He is survived by his wife, Shirkita Long Platt, and their children. Shirkita confirmed his death and has requested privacy for their family during this difficult time. DJ Unk rose to fame in the year 2000 after signing with Big Oomp Records. He released his debut album in 2006, which included hit songs like Walk It Out and Two Step. Walk It Out even had a remix featuring Andre 3000 and Jim Jones. In 2009, DJ Unk suffered a heart attack, which he attributed to stress, constant touring, poor diet, and alcohol consumption. Following this incident, he reportedly reduced his drinking and smoking. Big Oomp Records released a statement mourning his loss and celebrating his contributions to music. Rest in peace, DJ Unk.